going on, guys? I'm Max. I graduated from UMD about 4 months ago now. Kind of surreal. I took 495 and I sat right there. But anyway, yeah, I interned at CapitalOne my junior year, and I loved it. Interning in commercial bank audit, not really knowing what it was at the time, and I kind of fell in love with it. And then I got a return offer and I signed it right away. So I'm working with financial crimes compliance right now in internal audit. And just real quick for MRP, if people don't know what that is, basically it's a 2-year rotation program. So like after a year, I'll switch teams, but I'll stay on it. So, yeah.
So how did you know what you wanted to major in, and what you kind of feel right, but what department are you in right now?
Yeah. So I double majored in finance and marketing. The finance major was always there. The second major kind of switched about 5 million times, just not knowing what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do finance just because I did some trip in high school and I went to American Tower. I grew up in Jersey. It was like a 30-minute ride from New York City. And I kind of knew that I kind of fell in love with the charts, and I didn't understand a lot of it, but I knew that was kind of like, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, what is this? And as I kind of learned more about it, knew that was what I wanted to get into, knew I wanted to work at a bank. And then, yeah, I knew that was finance. And the second one I changed so many times. I just kind of like marketing, thought it was fun. I liked classes, just thought it was interesting, so I did that. And then I talk about it with financial crimes compliance audit right now. Yeah.
So what are some of your daily tasks / general things you do every day in your job?
I think one of my favorite parts about my job is that there's no such thing as like a regular day. Honestly, like I don't have anything on my calendar besides like a monthly meeting or like a meeting with my mentor that's like scheduled, set every week, which is really cool. It really depends on the day. So kind of how an audit works in general, just like very high level overview, at least how we do it at Capital. I don't really know how people do it elsewhere. Basically, it's on a 4-month schedule, right? So like every 4 months, you kind of switch, you work on a different thing. That's at least how we do it. I don't know. But yeah, so like there's a bunch of different stages, but basically, you kind of go through the whole process and move on to a different project, for lack of a better word. So yeah, right now it's where I'm kind of learning the whole role, but one thing is for sure, there's no such thing as like a normal day. Like it really is whatever's got to get done, which is kind of cool.
Okay, and then what were your initial expectations about entering the workforce, and how did they compare to your actual experiences right now?
It's a good question. I knew that it would be different. It's totally different. Like working 9 to 5, I'm sure you guys know it's significantly different than going to class in college. But for me, I think I actually like working 9 to 5, to be honest, because there's no midnight deadline on like anything, which to me I like a lot. Like you work and then like, you have meetings about it, but there's no like I have to get this done on a Sunday night at midnight. Like you have your weekend, you do your weekend, you go to work Monday, go home, like go to work Tuesday, go home. There's no like homework at 11:45 unless you have to work, but like I don't know, if you budget your time, I hope that most people don't have to do that. But it was different, but honestly, I like it. I like not having midnight deadlines, and I don't know. I mean, I'm at a good company too, selfishly, so I'm very happy where I'm at. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, this coming from a super ignorant place, and what is audit? I just thought that was like accounting. So
It's a very, very good question. So I think it's important to talk that there's 2 different kinds of audit, right? I didn't know a lot of this either, which is why like I'm like, yeah, I get it. For me, I do internal audit. So just again, very high level overview. I talk about the 4-month thing. So you go into a project and you really look at how a business functions, right? So like how a certain topic functions or whatever. And then you say like, are we effectively performing this task? Is risk minimized? Stuff like that. So I wouldn't, when people think of audit, I think, at least I did when I was in college, you think a lot about financial statements and like hunting down receipts. To be honest, that's what I thought of at least. I don't do that at all. When I was doing a coffee chat, when I was recruiting, someone who went here actually was one of the people who's in the department, And I just kind of did a coffee chat, and I realized that like I knew her brother like from here, and then we just kind of started talking about it. And I'm like, what is it? And she described it as like internal consulting. And to me, that really kind of feels like what it is. Like you're helping your company minimize risk and be, make it better. That's very high level overview. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it is different than external. I think the distinction there is pretty important.
How is that different from like business analysts?
Business analyst is a lot more code. I'm not honestly entirely sure, to be totally honest. I'm still very much learning all this stuff. From what I understand, analysts are a lot more looking at what it does and like making improvements. I think us very specifically is much more risk focused. So like, what's going on right now? Are we effectively minimizing risk? That's what I do. And I think, from my understanding, I really don't know, to be totally honest. Like I couldn't give you a really good answer. Analysts are a lot more, what are we doing right now? Are there things we can do, like new initiatives and stuff like that? And kind of dig in to find new things. When we're very much trying to find new risks, but like we're not trying to like build new products. So analysts, I think, are a lot more new product focused. At least a lot of them are. They all do different stuff, but that's, again, probably doesn't answer your question that well, but that's what I got. Yeah.
So how do you balance work responsibilities and your personal life during the transition period?
Good question. It's hard, especially at the beginning, just because again, it kind of goes back to like your work. Like when you're in college, it's very much not all that separated. At least how I feel about it. Like you have all your classes during the day, and then like you do whatever you do at night, and then but you're also like doing homework at like on a weekend, right? And like it's always in the back of your mind, like I gotta get this stuff done by tomorrow night at noon. And you still have those kind of deadlines, but it's very much more. And what I also like about it is like it's very much more centralized, so that helped me a lot, just kind of gaining that perspective of like, if I'm on a Saturday night, I don't like, I don't know, I can do my own thing, right? It's very important to kind of just like identify that. I don't know if that kind of answers the question at all again, but in terms of balancing it, I think just kind of knowing who you are and being, again, like you're in college, right? Time management. If you're good at time management, it like the same thing applies that it does in college. Like if you can effectively manage your time, you can effectively balance the work life. But again, just be on top of it, know your priorities. Communicate well is another thing. Like don't, like just make sure everybody knows what's going on at a given time, because then there's no like fire drills or like whatever, like oh my god, we have to take care of this. Like if you communicate well and manage your time, and again, you kind of take that from college. So.
What are some key takeaways or lessons that you've learned during your transition into the workforce that you think that can benefit us as college students?
That's a good question. I think my thing is that you never stop learning, like at all. Every job that you have, you're going to be learning new skills and learning new topics every day, because if you don't need new skills, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to be learning something new, you're always going to be learning how to improve something. So that learning mindset that you have in college now, where you're like sitting in class and learning, it's like obviously not the same, like you're not sitting in class just being lectured at a lot of the time. But keep that mentality, I think, is really important. Like you're always going to find stuff to learn, and if you learn the stuff, that's how you grow. And again, I'm getting much into my career, but like that's how you grow in your career, right? Is you learn new stuff and then quickly know how to apply it. Yeah, I think just keep being learners. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but like it's true. You're always going to learn at whatever you do. So.
Okay, well, if you could go back to being an underclassman, what would you do different?
To be honest, I don't really know. I think about this all the time. I think just in general, being cognizant of the fact that like, and like again, this is super high level, but like everything that you do, like I'm not saying it should be like calculated and you shouldn't go with the flow, but like everything you do kind of translates to something else, right? So it's just for me being a lot more like cognizant of that, and like knowing that everything that I do in college like will help shape me into the person I am today. So kind of, you know, maybe like I don't know, studying that extra hour or something like that, it helps define who you are as like, not as a person, but it defines like your work ethic and all these different things that'll make you better in the workplace. So in terms of the transition, I wish I was a little bit more methodical, just a little bit more patient with myself. But again, like we're human, so it's like it's not gonna be possible every time.
Well, what resources, if any, helped you out with maybe your application, interviews, and then internal networking?
Yeah. Networking in general, honestly, is just doing what you guys are doing right now. Like coming to these events. Like everybody here is a resource to each other. Like people always say like I'm going to networking events to like meet professionals who are in the workforce. Like, and we talked about this a little bit in class like 2 years ago. But like everybody in this room is going to like has something to offer everybody else in this room, right? So like utilize each other, utilize all these opportunities. And in terms of like what helped me with the application, it was just again like coming out to these things, building confidence, right? Like not being afraid to like talk to the guy after the event or something. Like again, if you guys want to talk about anything, connect on LinkedIn, whatever. But yeah, just building your network. Like for me, like I already knew a little bit about CapitalOne just because it's like they recruit somewhat out of here. I don't know to what extent, honestly. But I knew people who were at the company through Maryland, I guess is more my point. So I kind of knew about it. I knew about other companies, kind of just figuring all that out and then just talking to each other, learning from each other. Again, like you're always learning from each other. So just utilizing your network helps with pretty much everything, to be honest. And in terms of the application, just again, use what's in front of you. Like you guys have each other. You guys have, you know, alumni that'll just come in and talk apparently. You guys have OCS, which is by far, honestly, not talked about enough here. Like, go to OCS, do those practice like interviews, do those resume workshops. Like, just use everything you have in front of you. Use everything can help you, honestly. So,
Before accepting the offer, what kinds of things do you consider? Like, what kinds of requirements or standards do you have for companies before accepting an offer?
good question. For me, I honestly just had a pretty good time interviewing. And I know that sounds kind of dumb, but like I really enjoyed interviewing. I liked everybody I met, and I think on a personal level, like being able to relate to these people is super important because these are people you're gonna be working with, right? And not every company is for everybody, but having those interviews, right? If you're clearly meshing well with you're clearly meshing well with the other person, right? If they're gonna like keep you moving forward. So then it becomes like, did you enjoy your experience? And I think that's important, like more than anything else, because if you work with these people, like you're seeing all day, right? So you want to be happy. And for me, like, I don't know, I enjoyed my experience interviewing at CapitalOne, and I knew that was, you know, when I got the offer, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So.
Do you have a mentor? If so, how did you find them and how did they help you?
Yeah. So the one that immediately pops to mind is I have one at work right now. So context, I interned last summer, or I guess 2 summers ago, in commercial bank audit, so like a separate team than the one team I'm on now. So my manager then and my director now, and so her boss and her, I talk to now probably once a month, just because like they're incredible resources to have. Like people know people, again, kind of go back to the networking thing. Like if you want to just like learn from people, first of all, you learn from people who have a lot more experience than you, right? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like I fully believe that. But yeah, I talk to them a lot. You're asking what was the second part of the question?
How did they help you? How did you find them? Kind of explain a little bit.
Yeah, so like just being able to bounce questions off them. I don't know, again, like, be a mentee to someone who's got more experience than you can learn from, who knows people that they can connect you with. And again, like to go back to the thing I was talking about with the interviews, like it's a feel thing. Like if you like them and they like you, like you're gonna want to help each other. And I don't know necessarily how much help I really give them, but just being like finding resources that you mesh well with and you guys help each other. Yeah.
What clubs and organizations do you recommend for college students to join? Alumni.
Which
Clubs or organizations do you recommend?
CFMA. No, in all seriousness, just whatever you're interested in. Like, I was in the spike ball club for like a hot minute in college. Like, you meet people through that. Something. Really quickly, just join anything that makes you happy, whatever you're interested in. Everybody is a resource. Meet new people, learn new stuff, whatever makes you happy. You should introduce yourself right away.
Hi. Sorry for my guys, I just 495 sucks. My name is Fayyaz. I graduated from Carnegie Mellon in 2022. I was a electrical computing engineering major there, so I know some of you guys might be business, but I was on more on the STEM side of things. But I've been working at CapitalOne for about a year now. So I'm part of this program called TDP at CapitalOne, which is like our entry graduate level positions for software development. So last year I was working like retail banking, and this year now I'm working on like the card side of things. So for those of you guys who have CapitalOne cards, like if you guys ever like don't pay your credit card bills or go into delinquency, I work on that. So
I gotta connect with you.
yeah, so I can theoretically see whoever never paid their bills off. But so I work on helping building products and services. But yeah, I grew up in the Maryland area. Anyone here from Howard County? Maybe, yeah. I went to Centennial, so born and raised Ellicott City, and then went to school up in Pittsburgh, and now I'm in McLean, Virginia. So basically came back to the DMV and just chilling now as it is. So, but I'm super excited to be talking here today, and yeah. Great.
So, we're just gonna go back to the questions for you to answer. How did you know you wanted to major in audit, and how did you know that you wanted to work in the department that you're working in now?
Sure. So I think growing up, I was always more inclined to I always loved like mathematics and just STEM in general. And I think because of that, I kind of surrounded myself with different after-school activities, and my dad was an engineer, so I found like a lot of fun talking to him about these sort of things and working through different math problems. Always found it like as a puzzle of sorts. And then when I was choosing between, I wanted to either computer science or computer engineering, and I was choosing between the two. Computer science tended to be a bit more theoretical, like it was like they advertised it as like math on a keyboard. And then computer engineering was much more, I guess, like software plus like the interaction with like hardware and like real life components. So I think that was really what interested me, and I think the fact like creating these really cool products and bringing them and seeing them come to life in like real time was something incredibly attractive. And so that's why I decided to end up doing computer engineering. What was the second question?
How did you know that you wanted to do the job you're doing now?
So I knew I wanted to do this job because I think a lot of different factors played into it. CapitalOne as a whole was a really great company because great benefits. I've always served a lot of great people. The DMV is an amazing. I love like Nova. So working and living out of McLean. My family like lives in McLean now, so it's like incredibly convenient. But I think the fact is, software development allowed me to gain a lot of skills, and that I really, really hope to use in the future. Both in a technical sense, right? I got to learn and develop my computer science skills in the real world. I know some of you guys might have internships that have already done that, but I think working alongside engineers every single day for a year, I think you'll really learn a lot about what it takes to go and progress as a team, be efficient. And if you want to use that in other companies or even your own startups, I think that's what was really attractive to me. I think that was the biggest part, as well as when I was choosing, when I was in my college senior year, I wanted to do software engineering, but I also knew that I maybe wanted to branch out and do something else. So I applied to consulting jobs, data science jobs, and I think I did analyst positions as well, just because why not? But I think that what I realized, and I took a step back, was computer science and majors that focus on math and engineering. This is in a broad sense, so if you're not doing math and engineering, I don't want you to feel you're missing out, but it's more so I thought that I can apply what I'm learning inside this job to other areas of expertise or that I might become see in the future, right? So like, say I want to go into like fintech, say I want to go into finance, say I want to go to medicine, like there's this like large umbrella that technology, computer science fall under, or just mathematics as a whole. And so that's why I kind of, and that's why I ended up going to this position, because I think I got like a consulting offer, but I didn't want to do it because of that exact reason, which was I think it's much easier to transition from engineering to consulting to engineer, right? So that's why I ended up choosing it. Yeah.
So how did you balance work responsibilities and personal life during the transition period?
That's a great question. So I think my situation. Oh wait, have you asked these questions?
No, you're good.
Okay. I think my situation was a bit unique in the sense that because my parents lived in McLean, that it was really easy. I just came back and just starting into the gist of things, which was like, you know, my parents were at home, like dinner was already there, but because they literally live like 10 minutes from the office. Like I could see the office from my bedroom window. It's really weird. But I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was interesting. I think more so the struggle that I had was not trying to like get my work life together, but get my personal life together. And in that sense, I found that the transition from like the academic life that all of us have for 16 years, right? So like 12 years university, 12 years like elementary school, middle school, whatever, 4 years university, and then going to a 9 to 5 every single day is insane. Like no one ever prepares you for that, and it's not like it's just a completely different vibe, right? Like you go throughout your day here at College Park, you wake up, you go to class, you do your homework, you're surrounded by your friends. Like it's encompassing, like your school is like encompasses your life, right? Like you bring your school home with you. You wake up and like school is around you. Like you go to like football games, right? You go to soccer, like whatever it may be. Like your life is College Park. But when you start a 9 to 5, like you have to build and like develop a place outside of work, because work only stays like depending on your job. But you know, when I was as a software engineer, like I wake up, have my meetings around like working from 9 to 5, and afterwards I'm just like sitting like first like a couple months I was sitting around like what the hell do I do now? And I was like I didn't know whether or not to like I should be doing more work, whether or not I should be like studying something. Like I was always it was always like a clear cut plan that I had, and because that's how the system was. I just didn't know what to do. So I think what really helped me was, and this was with a bunch of other people at TDPs that I saw as well, they found something that they were passionate with and they latched onto it. So whether that be going to the gym, working out, like new hobbies, like a lot of people got into climbing recently. I don't know like if that's like a big thing recently. So a lot of my friends become climbers. Like outside, have like hobbies outside, working on side projects, like there needs to be a time where you sit down and just think about what you want to do outside of the workplace, because I found that it really like ate me up for the first 2 months, where I was like, I literally came home from work every day, like watched TV, played video games, and went to bed. Like, and then I woke up and I'm like, this is like so, I feel like I should do more, like I feel I should be like, in a weird way, it felt like I should be stressed, because the last like 16 years of my life, I was like conditioned to be like, oh, I should be stressed out because like this exam is coming up or this PSAT's coming out, right? But now it's like my work doesn't come home with me, and so I need to figure out a way to just thrive outside of it. And so that was, I think, one of the hardest challenges, and I think latching on to figuring out what you're passionate about, and to making that and just looking at that outside of work, that's really great.
I asked what you like something?
So I started to do, I really like, I honestly, so 2 things. So I really liked playing video games, so I started like my own like video game league outside of work, right? So that was really cool. So it's like a dumb game. I don't know if you guys ever heard of a game called League of Legends. It's really not a fun game, but I like it a lot. And so I was like, okay, I like talking about it. So I decided to like, make my own tournament, like a Matisat outside of workspace. I started putting myself like in a routine. So I would wake up 7:30 every morning, go to the gym, come home, like and structure my day out. And I also I also kind of succumbed to the whole like I miss studying. I started applying for like master's programs to do while I was at work. So we do that as well. But yeah, so I think the biggest things, the biggest things were, and I'm not saying you have to do like other things. I wanted to just go and do a master's in this really nice online master's computer science online from Georgia Tech. That's really nice. But I think definitely working out more and being more active. Like I play basketball more with my friends, go to the gym more, and then also just I think some side projects as well, like playing video games, working on some like stuff with a couple of friends. Also, we're passionate about side projects as well. And,
I think the routine is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the routine.
I'm up and going to the gym. I'm home and going to work.
Yeah.
And then I bought AMC A list, so I'm going to like the movie theater.
Yeah,
after reading.
Tuesdays. Yeah, Tuesdays are off, right? Yeah. Yeah.
One last question just for you, and then I'll go back to having questions for both of you guys. I want to know what if you could go back to being an underclassman, what would you do differently?
I could do that. Being an underclassman. I don't know. I think that I think I'd spend a lot of my time with my friends, and I think that being in a university like Carnegie Mellon or University of Maryland or whatever it may be, I think there's a lot of resources to like if you're really passionate about something, go and chase it. Because I know Carnegie Mellon had this. I don't know if University of Maryland had this, but there's like startup programs. There's like a bunch of different clubs that you're passionate about. Like we had like a great like an F1 team at CMU, and it was just more so like I found that I got my work done. I hung out with my friends. They were great people. I had a great time. Like I wasn't like antisocial. But I think the fact is, there were so many cool things around campus, and I think that I could have, if I just spent or allocated like 1 more hour a day versus of hanging out with not hanging out with my friends and versus like putting my time towards like a different club or passion project, I think it would have been different because college really provides you a way of pursuing what you're passionate about. In like a very controlled environment, like through different programs, through different clubs, through different scholarships, through whatever it may be. I think that that's a really great opportunity that really doesn't, like, once you get to the real world, you have to worry about like bills and, relationships and so, I mean, you have to worry about relationships here, but like, you know what I mean? It's like being in it's like the adult life versus like, being in a controlled environment like college life.
So for both of you, we as underclassmen are serving internships right now. Could you please let us know what attracted you both to CapitalOne specifically, or maybe what does CapitalOne have that other companies don't have, and can be specific to like the DMV area as well?
I want to start by saying we are not here on behalf of the company.
Yeah,
We are
that's
not.
true.
I asked my program manager, I asked my MRP lead, I'm like, hey, can I do this? He's like, yeah, but you don't speak on behalf of us. I'm like, okay, then. But for me personally, I can speak to my own experience. You said you didn't, you weren't CIP?
No, I wasn't in.
You weren't an intern? So I interned at CapitalOne, and for me, I told you guys before, right? Interviewing was completely different than any other interview experience I've had because I felt like I was really talking to the person and not kind of just like answering questions. Like it's like make the person laugh. Like there's just vibes, like it was good vibes. And then when you get there, for me personally, I tell people this, like I haven't met a single person at work that I wouldn't want to hang out with outside of work. Like I'm very happy at CapitalOne because I think the people are really good. And like it's fun. Like I really enjoy it. I look forward to going to work. And obviously you look forward to like after work and doing all the outside stuff, but like working is like a big part of your life for like 50 years, which I'm starting to like kind of grapple with right now. When I came back here and I'm like, oh my god, I don't have winter break anymore. But I think working with people that you like makes a massive difference, and it makes it feel more like College Park, right, or more like Carnegie Mellon. The people were a complete game changer for me, and I felt like it was exactly where I wanted to be. I interned there, and it only confirmed what I thought. Like everybody was super supportive, like everybody wants you to do well. I don't feel like I'm competing against anyone at all at work, to be honest. Like I think everybody's really just trying to help you out. Like if you have a question for anyone, I've never had a problem getting a question answered, which is like, I don't know if this is the only corporate company I know, but I loved every part about it. Honestly, I just did, and I signed my offer letter, I think like 2 days after I got it, because I just knew where I wanted to be. The work's that good, in my opinion. I know it's a cliche answer, by the way.
What was the question again? Just to make sure.
Why CapitalOne?
Why
Out of all
CapitalOne?
those companies out
Sure.
there?
So there's like the candid answer, and then there's the non-candid answer. And I'll go with the non-candid answer first, which was I'll go with candidate first, and then I'll explain about it. I graduated 2022, and the job market was kind of crazy. So I think I applied on Handshake plus other jobs as well. You guys have Handshake here?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I applied to 120 jobs, and I got it was honestly just a numbers game. Like
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if you guys know the job recruitment process, but job finding process. It is the biggest crapshoot in the world. Like it is so dumb sometimes. I have
Mine.
Yeah, I have friends that and from a tech perspective, who would get into Amazon but be rejected from get into Amazon and they have much less grades than a 3.2. This is for comparison, and get into Amazon working and they have the exact same resume as someone who's a 4.0 and he gets rejected from it. It's a complete crapshoot, and I think the fact is I was very fortunate to get accepted by CapitalOne as well as some other companies as well. So that's a candidate answer, right? But I would say the non-candidate answer and why I chose CapitalOne over the other companies that I was applying for with this same competitive salary was the fact that CapitalOne, I'm not speaking about behalf towards it, it's a great environment. There's, as Max was mentioning, that everyone there wants to help you, and you kind of forget it's a bank, at least for me, because you always hear about banking stories of working this and this and toxic environment, but you never feel that way. I genuinely feel like I'm in a tech company versus a bank, and everyone is just wants to help you, wants to help you grow, wants to grow with you, and I think that is really great as a first job. Being in Nova I really like it. I think I've always wanted to move to New York, and I still wanted to move to New York, but I've always, after being at CapitalOne and McLean for a bit, I definitely want to settle in DC. I think DC has the best qualities of a lot of different cities, whether it's cleanliness, whether it's stuff around it, places to go, and I really like the Nova area. And I don't know if you guys, have you guys been to the CapitalOne campus or seen it? I don't know. It's huge. The building, our main office called C1. It's I think it's the tallest building in all of Northern Virginia. Yeah. So it's a really cool place to you come out of college and you walk onto this campus and you see buildings towering over you. I thought it was really cool, and there's a lot of amenities on campus as well. Your life there is great.
Yeah.
The pay is great. The people are great. There's a Starbucks on campus. We get free ice cream, free food all the time. It's great. It's just coming from a pure life perspective. It's a fun place to work. We also have a legit NCAA basketball court that overlooks 495, which is really cool. So that's just more to speaking do anything. But I think the environment there as a whole is a really great spot, which I didn't see in other companies. I got an offer from Lockheed, and I always felt the general vibe. They have this weird system of enforcing work hours. They're 4-day, 10-hour weeks. And you don't work for. It was really weird. I got the vibe there that there was no. It was just very work heavy, and they didn't care about your well-being. And the fact is, CapitalOne just always takes time for you and lets you grow both as a person and as a coach.
Yeah, mini golf on the roof.
Mini golf.
Mini golf on the roof, just to pile it on.
Yeah.
I tell people that if they put a bed in there, I could totally live there and not go home. It's a really great place to work, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, 100%. I don't drink, but there's a discount beer garden that people just go and work, and we'd all get everyone just goes there for happy hour all the time, so it's fun.
Okay, so Stephanie and I definitely have a lot more questions, but before we get into any more questions of our own, does anyone here have any questions that they would like to ask?
You said a question for 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's getting deep you got a good like interview experience, but have you guys ever had like a bad recruiting experience and like what made it bad? Like, how did that go?
With a company?
anyone?
Yeah, and
Trying to think.
I don't think I've ever had a bad recruiting experience, to be totally honest. Just, I don't know, you learn from all of it, but I also, like, I've never had an interview with someone who, like, hated me, to be honest.
I think I had like one of them, and that was with like Facebook, and Facebook just like completely, to be candid, like screwed me over. Like I wasn't able to talk. Like I would try to talk through things, and like the guy in like the interview tried to like rush me. No hate to Facebook. This is like this is a very individual experience. Meta, as it is called. A very individual experience, but I just felt like it wasn't like worth my time. Okay. Actually, I got it. It was Tesla. Tesla's behavioral interview, they started asking me like random like coding questions on the fly, like on the phone with them. And so I was like asking them, they're like, rather than like what are your biggest strengths, like what do you look for, they just started asking me like random stuff, like what is like random stuff in like C. I don't know if you guys, I know some people don't do like career science, but like just incredibly dumb. It made me feel like, it felt like they didn't even care who I was as a person. They just wanted like results. And my best friend who was also applied there had the exact same experience as well. So honestly, a lot of Elon's companies are like that. SpaceX and Tesla were both interesting. So that's my experience.
Like they just gave you a pop quiz on the fly? Basically?
Yeah, they literally gave me a pop quiz on the fly. Like it was supposed to be like, hey, how are you? Talk to us about your strengths. Like what do you look for? It was literally just give us a pop quiz on the fly.
I don't think I'd want to work for them if that happened to me.
Dude, I don't know. But yeah, what's up?
Were there any like classes that you took as an undergrad where like the stuff that you learned you're like actually doing in your like your day-to-day job, or you more learned it from like your internships or your job experience?
So briefly, like on my experiences on campus, like I did SUSA, I was a VP of PA for a year. But in terms of classes, honestly, I think they're all important in some capacity. Like I'm working in like internal audit, so it's like a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of classes would apply. For those of you guys who took 495 or going to take 495, I personally, honestly thought that's the class I think that probably not most closely correlates to my job, but I learned a lot 495 to be honest, that I definitely take. Strategic management, I think if you're a business major, it's a required class, so a lot of you guys want to take it. But in terms of what I learned in college you said, what did I learn in college that
Yeah,
I kind
like
of
you're
covered?
using in like your day-to-day job or not really.
Yeah, stuff like what you guys are doing right now was honestly the most beneficial for me. Just because like you learn how to do time management in college, you learn how to do all that stuff, and I'm sure it's probably different for software engineers too, just because your stuff is way more like you guys stuff. Yeah. But for me, it's like getting involved, networking, like not being afraid to talk to people. I learned that in college. Like I'm way more confident now than I was 4.5 years ago. Like coming to these events, not being afraid to, like I told you guys, like use each other as resources. In any industry, by the way, this all applies to like anything. But I honestly think that I learned a lot in college, but I also think UMD gave me a lot of area to grow outside of the hard skills in the classroom. And not that they weren't important, but to me personally, I feel like the soft skills that they offered to me were really beneficial in my job.
Yeah, I think computer science is like similar in that sense, where a lot of the stuff you do learn on the job, but and so I can't like really point to a single like specific software engineering class, like whether it's like embedded systems or like web application development, because like it really depends on your job and what you're doing. But I think definitely the intro level computer science and math courses were really helpful, because which I don't know if you get who's STEM here, but I feel like that's mandatory for a lot of you guys. But I think those soft skills have not the skills of like which you don't know how to make a for loop or like solve like quadratic equation, whatever it may be. But the fact is, it teaches you how to think, right? Like the workspace is like you're supposed to like look at a problem and think of the most efficient and the best way to go about it. And that's not like taught there's no class, and maybe there's some classes for that here, but I think it's more of a mindset and it's a soft skill where you look at different algorithms and you look at different problems and you say like, what is the best way to go about this using the tools that I have. I think you're definitely just your intro and intermediate computer science and math courses are best for.
Yeah, the classes taught me how to think.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the case studies that you do in a lot of classes are really helpful too. Like I know like sometimes you're like, what about something that happened like 4 years ago, like I get it. But also it's like this happened for a reason, and sometimes you get into a job where it's like, I don't know, like some of this stuff could apply, and it's like someone who's minimizing risk, it's like you learn about why risk isn't managed. You know what I'm saying? So like for me it's how you think. I think it was a good way to say it. How you think and then the soft skills.
Any other questions?
I guess this is for you, Fayyaz. I'm also doing CS, but can you talk more about your like what your day-to-day looks like?
Sure.
As a software engineer.
Yeah. My day-to-day looks like I wake up around like 7:15. I get up, wash, splash water all over my face, try to get myself awake. I go to the gym, work out for a bit, and then I come back home. And so CapitalOne has like a hybrid policy. It's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're supposed to come in, or like actually it's only like 2 days a week. So if it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I get ready, go to the office. If it's not, then I'm just, making my protein shake at home, getting my stuff together. And then around 9:45, I have stand up. And so that's where we discuss stuff that we did the previous day, anything that's blocking us, stuff that we got to do today. And then I have a couple more meetings between then and 12 o'clock, which are like office hours if there's anything like bothering what you're working on or you have questions about, so it's anything. And then at 12 o'clock, grab a quick bite, if I'm at the office, I go with some friends, right? Like there's like 3 different cafes on CapitalOne campus, which are really cool, ranging from like a la carte, like Jamaican food buffets sometimes to like, there's a really good like Asian spot that I like in C2.
C2?
Yeah.
C2's
And then, so I usually grab lunch with them. And then around 1:30ish, we have another meeting to discuss some like vulnerabilities that we're seeing in code, or if you have any like one-on-ones with the manager. And then from like 2 to 4:30, 2 to 5, you're working. So it's a good mix of meetings and getting work done. I found that like earlier in the week I have a bit more meetings, and so I'm not able to fully focus on my work. But as the time and sprint goes on, it's a bit more. My day frees up, so I can do this. But it's a lot of working, interacting with people, and just yeah. Stuff like that.
Thank you guys for coming to speak with us. This is very helpful. And unfortunately, we have a room until 5:50, so we'll wrap it up. But if you have any more questions, if you guys are okay with that, ask them in the hallway or
I'm happy to also throw my email on the board if you guys have any questions or
Yeah, I can do that too.
need referrals.